Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome. So what I'm going to do is introduce a little bit more of Are You My Flock? We're going to just kind of dig into what are the triggers around personalities? How do I build my confidence in talking with someone else? What in the world is Are You My Flock? And how do I use it effectively? Thank you, everybody, for jumping in with me today, whenever you happen to join this. We are going to take a little bit of a deep dive into personality profiling. And we're going to go through just what in the world is personality profiling and why does it make a difference? Why is it what I consider to be one of the most powerful tools if you are in the business of selling a product, a program, or a service? How in the world does this help you? We're going to talk about triggers because we all have them and how to minimize your triggers and really use your energy when you're networking or building your business in a way that's really super, super effective. It's called Are You My Flock because birds of a feather fly together or flock together. And stick around to the end because I do have an offer I've never made before. It is something that I think is going to fit everybody's summer schedule. And that's really why I'm doing this, is because I know summer's busy for all of us. So stick around. If the offer at the end is right for you, great, grab it. If not, take the tips, the nuggets that you can get throughout the next little bit and run with them. Most of you know me. My name is BJ Strummy. I have been an entrepreneur for over 40 years. I am a speaker, an author, a trainer, a coach, and a retreat host. So if you've ever wanted to kind of escape the rat race and step aside, step away, get some one-on-one training, let me know. Maybe we should chat. I have been an entrepreneur because, like many of you, I wanted that freedom of time. I wanted to be able to spend time with my family. I wanted to be able to work from home, and I did that. I've traveled all over the world with the companies I've been with. I love to birdwatch with my daughter. And the book that we're going to dive into, this program, was actually created by myself, my daughter, and also my son. So it has some really, deep ties for me. When we talk about being an entrepreneur, there's so many ideas and techniques and time management. And a lot of what we hear is, post more, get up early, um, manage your time better, network more. And some of that is just like nose to the grindstone. And I am not like that. My whole tip and technique and just feel for everybody I work with is I want you to have a business that has an ease and a flow. So it's not so much about working harder, chasing clients, putting more time in. It's a lot more about understanding who you are, how you relate to other people, how you understand other people, and how they make decisions, buying decisions, how they make investment decisions, how they make connections, how they speak. That's really what tonight is. I know this makes a difference because I've gotten hundreds and hundreds of testimonials. And this is one that Paul, another coach, has said. He likes this program because it's fun, memorable, and useful without having to digest an 87-page report before talking with a team member or moving forward. That's really the heart and soul of this, is understanding who someone is and how do I speak their language so they hear me. This is something that will help you attract your ideal clients. And we talk a lot about who is my ideal client. If you have created your ideal client, you know exactly what that avatar looks like. You know who you want to speak with. I would love if you would drop in the chat just a yes, I've got my ideal client. If not, maybe you can just drop in a no. I would love more direction on creating an ideal client. If you feel like an ideal client is anybody, you say, well, I can help anybody. I can help anybody who, you know, has skin. I can help anybody who has pain. I can help anybody who is hurt or wants to grow. It's not niched down well enough that you're actually going to train your brain on how to look for your ideal client. The more you can train your unconscious brain on what to look for, the easier it attracts it and filters out the stuff that you don't need. This increases your sales, it increases your bookings, it increases your referrals because people want to work with you when they feel connected, they feel drawn to you. And this improves sales, bookings, closings, building your team. Everything can grow because of that. Now, the next thing we're looking at is really understanding how this makes a difference, not just in sales and bookings and team building, but in your personal life as well, because this really does become something you use all the time. I do it all the time when I'm watching people, even on TV. I'll ask my man, I'll say, well, what do you think they are? And he'll make an assessment, or we run into friends in town. He'll say, who do you think that is? You know, what kind of personality? And because you spend some time understanding the personalities, it makes it so much easier when you're out and about to observe and go, okay, I see this. This makes me think this person is this type of a personality. So it can change how you deal with your family. It can change how you deal with strangers. It can allow you to become more confident in who you are and to honestly be able to let go of stuff that's not yours. You know, if somebody talks in a way that's not comfortable for you, likely it causes a trigger because someone else in your life, you know, treated you that way or talked with you that way. And with this program, you learn how to let things roll off. I call it like water off a duck's back, right? Just let it roll off. So let's jump in and figure out, what are the flocks? There's four that we're going to be working with. And the reason that I chose birds, and this is fun, if you do any kind of bird watching, you know, there's field guides. And so this is kind of your field guide to personality profiling with birds. It's easy because we all know birds. It's everywhere. We see them all the time. So your brain doesn't have to really learn something completely new, like the DISC or anagram or Myers and Briggs or even the bank code. It's something that you already have kind of wired into your unconscious mind. We're just going to make it make sense. And it's fun. It's not so serious. I don't want you to take it so seriously. I want you to have some fun with it. Make it a game. Keep it a little bit light, because that will make it easier for your brain to remember and easier to emotionally engage in. These are the four different flocks, as I call them: raptors, songbirds, herons, and doves. And each one of these have characteristics that relate very easily with the bird world and humans. This quadrant kind of helps you break down some of the ways to tell the difference. And when we dive into the program, you actually get another cheat sheet that I'll show you in a little bit. But listening for the pace of speech when you're out and about and you're listening to someone talk, that's your first clue, because your raptors and your songbirds are all going to speak just a little faster, a little louder. Your songbirds are a little bit more animated. Your herons and your doves speak just a little quieter, a little more paced, a little softer. And each one of them also has a little bit of a different way of speaking. Again, we'll dive into this a little bit deeper because this is just surface for you, but it gets you started. When you look at the second set of, you know, identifiers, I would say, songbirds and doves are very relationship driven. And if you think of the birds themselves, songbirds, you know, we see them in the tree. Pop into the chat and tell me, how many songbirds do you normally see at a time? If you look out the window and you're watching the trees or you're watching the birds in the grass, is it one? Is it two? Is it 20? How many birds do we normally see when they're songbirds? Same thing with doves. How many doves do you normally see at a time? Or even pigeons? They're very communal. They're very driven to be together. So if you think about that, and then you turn and you think about raptors, which are eagles, hawks, owls, even vultures. Of course, vultures are a little bit different, but if you stay with eagles, hawks, and owls, how many do we normally see? Right? One, two, maybe if it's a family of eagles and the little ones just hatched little, if you've ever seen eagles, you might see two or three of them at a time. but they're a lot more solitary and they're a lot more protective and territorial than you're ever going to see with songbirds and doves. Now, herons, on the other hand, are those great big tall birds, and egrets, like snowy egrets, great egrets. They're the white birds, and great blue herons are kind of gray and blue. And these are those tall, like, I want to say, cautious, birds that you see by the water, out in the field, in the marsh, and they're very strategic. They take their time, they're very cautious, a little slower, and they, along with raptors, are very task driven. So that particular quadrant has a different, I would say, has a different way of looking at things and has a different interest than your songbirds and your doves. And in the program, when we dive into that, you get a lot more information on how do I tell if they're a raptor or a heron just because of their task and their voice. Well, part of the voice separates it. There are other things like how do they dress? How do they move? What do they actually talk about? Are they on time or late? All of those things will help you be able to determine who you're working with. And I love your comment. Yeah, it depends on her feeder, who she shows, how many birds show up. That's pretty cute. So let's take a look at our first flock, which is your raptors. Now, in the people world, your raptors are going to be your leaders. They are visionaries. They are business owners. They are the heads of corporation. They love things to go fast. They see the big picture. They don't see all the details. They don't want all the details. They are motivated by money, authority, power. So when you're speaking with one, you need to make sure that those are the things you keep in mind in your conversation with them. And you will realize that too many details and they're going to tune you out. Bottom line is what they care about. So when you're talking with a raptor, you might use some of these words like, here's the fastest way to do this. Or, you'll be ahead of the competition if you do this. Or act now because you're going to lock in the best price. You're going to save the most money. Again, they're motivated by money, authority, power, recognition. They are powerful, they're dominant, they're driven, they're independent, and they do make fast decisions. It's important that you let them use their authority. You let them step into the limelight because that's who they are. At the same time, you keep your boundaries. Doesn't mean that you let anyone run over you. You just learn to speak that more powerful, confident language so that they will respect you. They will want to do business with you because they recognize that you are speaking their language. That's the best way for you to reach a raptor. Now, herons, on the other hand, completely different. Herons are motivated by details, by learning, by rules, by regulations. They love to learn, they love to research, and they need to be right. Now, everybody kind of wants to be right, but herons don't like to make a mistake because they don't want to look foolish. They don't want to look like they don't know what they're doing. So when they need to make a decision, it takes some time. They're going to go, I think about it, and then go over here and look at this research and down here and look at this research and then back to this one and back to this one. And it can take them a very long time to make a decision. They want to know that they've done their research and they're making the best choice. That helps them feel good. It helps them feel validated. They are cautious. They do prefer a little quiet time, solitude. They're very patient with processes, not necessarily people. They're highly detail-minded, methodical. They can also be skeptical, and they ask a lot of questions. So when you're with a heron, if they ask a lot of questions, it's not because you don't know what you're doing. It's because they want to know that you know what you're doing, and they need to gather enough information before they're going to make a choice to work with you or beside you or send business your way. So be patient, respect the process, Give them specific details, but not too much. Okay, give them the most important details and let them know you have additional resources for them. Give them time to make the decision they need to make. Some of the things you could say that would be accepted well with a heron or feel respectful, because everybody wants to be heard, seen, and valued, and especially herons need to feel that you're present, but you know what you're talking about and you're patient. So you might say, well, we could walk through these exact steps, or you could say, here's the data to support this, and I have other research if you need it. You can also say, take your time to review the details. When would you like me to get back with you? Because if you don't set a date in any circumstance, then you're going to feel uncomfortable. Check them back. When you are giving someone information, that could be about your product, your program, your service. When you ask that question about, is there more information that you would like? Or can I get back to you? Let you think about this. Can I get back to you? If they say, yeah, say, well, how about a week, 2 weeks? Depends on what you've talked about. But setting a date to get back with someone really takes the weight off of your shoulders on follow-up, and follow-up is really important. Okay, let's talk about songbird. Or as most of us know, when you look at a feeder, there's all kinds of birds out there. When you look at the trees, there's all kinds of little birds out there. Your songbirds are communal. They love being together. They love working together to find food. They also compete, but they're lively, they're colorful, they're fun-loving, they're very chatty. They're prone to this shiny object syndrome as a person, and they don't like being boxed in. So when you work with them, keep your voice upbeat, use the word fun. I promise you, use the word fun with a songbird and you will catch their attention. You don't have to be fakey. You don't have to fake it till you make it with this program. You just learn a few techniques to be able to shift into those other languages authentically. And it's so much easier to connect with people that way. When you're working with the songbirds, just pick up your voice a little bit, pick up the pace, provide quick, easy steps so that actions feel effortless. They're not ones that want a lot of detail. If you give them too much detail, they're going to shut down on you. So some of the things you can say when you're working with a songbird and you want them to make a decision, right? Or you're sharing something with them. This is going to be so much fun. I can already see that you're going to love this. Or, you know what, let's make this really quick. Let's make this really easy. That's going to resonate with them. They're more likely to make a decision. When it comes to doves, doves are very relationship driven. So the first thing with a dove is you need to be present. You want to just slow your brain down if you need to, and just be totally present for them so that they can feel that you're listening, you're engaged, and you are there for them. They are quieter, they're peace-loving, they're very giving. They are your most loyal flock, your most loyal people. So if you think of the people in your life that are like really seem really loving, they seem really intuitive, they're a little bit more nurturing. They're the ones that are always there, like, do you need anything, or can I get you anything? Or if there's a party, they're cleaning up, making sure everybody's got something to eat or something to drink. Those are your doves. So think about the people in your life with each of these flocks and see how you can relate. Because the more you can relate to who they are, the easier it will be for you to authentically move into their language and not let things that are not your flock really trigger or bother you as much. With doves, if they're more emotional than you care to engage in, you can still keep some boundaries. You don't have to be pulled into all of that, but just being present is probably one of the most important things you can do. If they feel that you hear them and you're relating to them, some of the things you can say is, well, how does this feel? You know, how does this resonate with you? Or, you know, if it's an event or it's a group project, you can say, you know what, you really do make a difference. I'm really glad you're part of this. Or let's do this together, because they do like working together. These are some of the little tips you'll get, and I have a cheat sheet for every one of you in the program. And you also can get a cheat sheet in that book. So that's the Are You My Flock book. It's available in audio and print, and there's a cheat sheet for you there, which makes it a little bit quicker. This one is just talking about pace, which means their voice. How do they speak? Raptors are faster, little more animated, not as animated as a songbird, but more direct. So the animation would be more direct, maybe with hands like this, but not hands like this. That's a songbird. Your herons are reserved, very paced, very specific. Your doves are slower and quieter and more warm. You can feel it in their voice. When it says focus, it's like, what is the focus of the conversation? Raptors are almost always going to be about business, something specific that's task-oriented, project, a cause. Your herons are task-oriented, but usually it's with far more detail. It would be specific to a project that they are working on or something they're building, and they can give you every single little detail because they have checklists. Your songbirds, on the other hand, very relationship driven. They're going to talk about fun, adventure, what they did over the weekend. They're just going to have a completely different theme, completely different way of talking with you. So when you ask questions, you want to make sure that you are asking open-ended questions, which we work with a lot in the program, and knowing how to open, guide, and close a conversation so that you are asking questions in their flock personality, not just yours, so they open up a little bit more. Your doves are also relationship driven, but again, it's more around family, health, maybe a cause that they're behind, not so much the fun and the adventure. When it comes to how they dress, that's what it means by appearance is how do they dress? Think of eagles. They look black and white in the sky. They're brown and white, but it's two specific bold colors. So very classic, very clean, very professional looking. When it comes to herons, herons are a little more comfort focused, but they also are going to want things clean and neat, depending on the age. Now, if you get into the younger flocks, younger age with herons, they might be wearing something that's a little bit more trendy as far as their favorite game, online gaming or something like that. The songbirds, always going to be a little bit more colorful. You might find them in prints or florals, real trendy. They're more likely to follow the current styles than a heron would. And then when it comes to doves, they're really focused on comfort because doves of all the flocks are the one that usually has to kind of protect themselves. So you will see that in the way that they dress, a little bit more flowy knits, looser clothing, just real comfortable, nothing tight, nothing real showy. And when you look at this one says motivation, bottom line, really what is important to them. Raptors, results, money. Herons, accuracy, getting it right. Songbirds, having fun. Doves, peaceful, calm. They don't like conflict. Nobody really likes conflict, but doves really hate it. This is another just fun testimony from one of my clients because she took this book and the program we worked together and really saw a huge difference in just her own confidence level, being able to network easily and know exactly what she wanted to say. So it just flowed off her tongue. She was comfortable in her body. She didn't have to think about it. And her ideal clients came her way without chasing. This is what I want. I want you to be able to attract your ideal clients easily because of how you're thinking and how you're speaking, and they will resonate with it. Let's talk about triggers. Jump to the chat for me and tell me, of these 4 flocks, which one is the hardest for you to work with? Raptors, which are a little more bold, herons, which are very detail-minded, ask a lot of questions, songbirds, which are lively, can be considered flighty, or doves, which are a little bit more quiet. They can also be considered emotional. What I would highly recommend is as you dive into this program, you're going to learn wording to be able to speak the language of those that normally would trigger you. And you're also going to learn, how do I just let that roll off my back? For instance, a raptor usually speaks really bold, to the point. They think they're just being direct and clear. That's it. I'm clear, I'm direct. You should know exactly what I'm talking about. to a different personality, it can sometimes feel a little blunt or harsh. And most of the time they don't mean that. But if they're pressed, if they're in a hurry, or they're pressed by someone up the line from them, it can come across that way. When you know this, you can step back and go, okay, is that about me? Is that really about me? Or is that just the way that they talk? Most of the time, it is just the way that they talk. And you can let it roll off and go, okay, what's my part? And I have a little statement that I teach everybody. It's called rest, review, and release or respond. Because normally what we do with any kind of trigger is resist, resent, revenge. It happens automatically. And unless we're really aware and we can catch ourselves, if someone says something that causes us to go, well, ouch, well, that wasn't very nice. Well, I don't like, whatever it is. Like, for instance, if somebody came up and said, oh, yeah, those shoes are kind of cute, but I'd never wear them. I mean, something simple like that. Our brains instantly go, okay, resist means like, why not? What's wrong with my shoes? Resent is like, well, I kind of don't like your shoes either. And revenge would be like, well, I don't like your shoes either. But there's no need for it. There's no need to be resist, resent, revenge if you can stop yourself. See, I've been doing rest, review, respond for so long, I almost forgot the other one. Rest would be just take a deep breath and go, is this about me? Review, where are they coming from? What's going on for them? And then respond if you need to, rather than react, or release. This is not about you, let it go. And you can do this with every one of these triggers. So when you're dealing with triggers, with the raptor, their trigger is, they're looking at the bottom line. So if you can match their pace and you can let it flow off as best you can, that's going to help you. With the herons, they need a little bit of room and they need details. So if they ask a lot of questions and it triggers you, you're like, they don't trust me, they're interrogating me, they're asking way too many questions. I don't feel like they are, even wanting to work with me. Back in the day, there was something called a Weeble Wobble, and it was this blow up toy with sand in the bottom, and you could punch it and punch it and punch it, and it would never fall over. So they'd say Weebles wobble, but they never fall down. When it comes to herons, if you have triggers around herons because they ask a lot of questions, just remind yourself you are the weeble that wobbles that never falls down. They can ask as many questions as they want. It's not that they don't trust you. They just want to know, do you know what you're talking about? And what kind of research do I need to have before I work with you? And you can give them that research. Let it roll off. You're a weeble that wobbles, but you don't fall down. When it comes to songbirds, the triggers of songbirds are usually because they don't typically finish things. They have trouble sticking with something and finishing something. That's why they need herons, and that's why raptors have the vision and songbirds have some of the creative ideas. They work together. So if the songbird triggers you a little bit because they're too flighty, they don't stick with something, they don't finish where they're at, they get distracted too easy, I totally understand. The best you can do is figure out what your part in that is. If you don't have to control that situation, let it go. They'll figure it out. If you need to rein them in because they're part of a project you're working on, or they are part of your team and you need them to do something, then speak their language to the best of your ability and know that they're going to get to it in their own timing in kind of a roundabout way, and let it roll off as best you can. When you're working with doves, if that triggers you because they maybe are a little more emotional or slower or take their time and they don't want to make a decision, not because they don't want to be wrong, but they don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. There's a totally different reason for each of these flocks in not making a decision quickly. And understanding that will help you speak their language, give them the time they need, or the resources, or the attention, or the freedom to make that decision easily. That's what we dive into, because every one of us have some triggers. It's part of growing up. There are people in our lives throughout your life that maybe you didn't feel connected to, or they didn't treat you as you deserve to be treated, for sure. Those can cause triggers. And through this training, hopefully you can let some of that go and roll off your shoulders. This is the cheat sheet I was telling you about. Easy to read, easy to keep with you. I recommend that you grab the cheat sheet. It's in the program. It's also, I believe, in the book, and keep it with you. Put it in your planner. If you have a planner, put it by your phone if you make phone calls, because then as you're talking with someone, you will be able to quickly adjust to their flock much easier. There are 4 things that I have found to be the foundational keys to your success as an entrepreneur. And I have been an entrepreneur for 40 years, so I know these work. I know this program works. It has a couple additional insights and tools. One of them is knowing how to ask open-ended questions. Another one is how to do coffee dates or networking appointments. That's in the program that we haven't covered tonight. But the 4 keys are mindset. Really, truly is the foundation of your success. And I work with all of my clients on helping them build their confidence a little bit more, create a rescue statement, be able to stand up in any of these conversations, any of these flock environments, and be confident, speak that language, and get the appointment that you want, which leads to the sales. Today, we just talked about communication, which is creating those conversations. How do I open a conversation, figure out who I'm talking to, move into their language authentically, just like you would if you were going to move to another country and you had to learn Spanish or Russian or German or French. Same thing. It's a language. You're learning a little bit of it. The third is those intentional actions. Once you know what you want and you're excited about it, then the actions you take are going to be far more effective. If all you're doing is trying to post more, trying to send out more emails, taking another course to try and create a funnel, but you're not really excited about it, it really isn't you. You're wasting your time, your money, and your energy. Figure out you first. Figure out how to talk to other people, because I promise you, your money doesn't come from product, program, or services. Your money comes from relationships. Your money comes from understanding people, understanding yourself completely, how you relate to other people, how they relate to you, and how to move into their language so that they feel like they're heard, they're understood, they are valued and respected, and they're more likely to want to do business with you. And the 4th key is ongoing education, because we're never done. And when I work with my clients, whether it's this program or one-on-one, there are all sorts of great support, books, programs, webinars, all kinds of support that just comes alongside, not to give you something more, but to reinforce what you already have. So that's how I work. Those are the keys to my coaching and my training. So I want you just to think about, how would it really feel to be able to understand your triggers and how to eliminate them, or at least minimize them? How would it feel to know exactly which flock you fly with and how to work with that? Because I want you to work in your strengths. We're not talking about changing who you are. We're talking about taking those beautiful strengths you have, no matter what flock you're in. Raptors are leaders. They have the vision. They go for the gold. We need them. You're powerful. They are the ones that lead the charge, and we need them. Herons are the ones with the details. They can see what raptors and songbirds will totally miss. So we need them. We need their detail-mindedness, their ability to see what another flock might miss. Songbirds are your fun. Life is way too serious if you're all about details and you're all about the bottom line. If you can add some creativity and some fun, you will see that your life becomes far more enjoyable. And your doves are your loving supporters. We would be so lost without them. So every single flock has some beautiful characteristics, and that's what we build on. And we learn how to use those characteristics to shine, to thrive, to show up where you want to show up. And we learn how to speak those other languages, just like another language in another country. not to become someone else and not to fake it till you make it, but to really truly care about connecting with someone. That's what I would really desire for each of you. So the program that I am offering is available all summer long. You are getting a special offer by being on the webinar, by watching the replay. It's called Master Your Flock. It is the entire program online, available at your own pace. There's no group coaching with it, but there are complete trainings on each individual flock with observation sheets for you to be able to start watching people and see if you're catching who they really are. This program normally includes a little bit of coaching, but it also is normally tied down to 4 weeks, and it's $297. Because I want a summer schedule that's light and easy, and I want you to have a summer schedule that's light and easy, there are no coaching with this one. Everything is available. It's $99, and you have 2 months to play with it. So just get in there, watch it, download all the worksheets so that you can really fine tune who you are, who you want to talk with, who your ideal client is, and how to adjust just enough to speak the language of all 4 flocks. Looking for referrals, that's easier. That becomes far more natural because people will refer you and people will want to work with you if you are building a team. Take advantage of the offer while it's up, and I look forward to working with you in Are You My Flock? Your Summer Confidence Boost. Thanks again.